Chris Billam Smith stops Craig Glover in the 5th round of what was a fun little fight. We had an absolute stinker to fight before with Fowler and Harry Scarf. I wasn't going to cover that fight. One of the criteria I've said before on this channel, I got to rate the fighter or I got to be sufficiently entertained, and I was neither in the last fight by Fowler nor the fight. But this fight was entertaining. Billam Smith is coming off the back of a loss to Richard Riakporhe. Richard Riakporhe, who is managed, I believe, by Dylan White, is a decent fighter. Still a bit raw, and that was a split decision over 10 rounds. It was a decent enough scrap, to be fair. It was close. It was competitive. And Craig Glover is managed. I think he's managed. I know he's very close with Tony Bellew. And Bellew, up until very recently, was singing this guy's, he still is, was singing the praise of Craig Glover. Now, Glover's coming off the back of a point win and a loss. The loss was to a journeyman whose name I will get here. I think it was a Czech journeyman. And the journeyman he lost to was Vyacheslav Pizar. If that name rings any bells, which it probably won't, but he was knocked out by David Price and he was also knocked out by Sergei Kuzmin. So, a heavyweight journeyman, basically, was the guy who Craig Glover last lost to. And I saw that fight. He was knocked out in 2 rounds. He was comprehensively beaten. So going into this fight, I was pretty sure Billam Smith would have a bit too much. Fundamentals were better. Just better everything. Now, Glover, that's not to say Glover wasn't competitive in this fight. He was. The first thing that jumped out to me was the size difference. Now, Billam Smith is listed as 6'3". Glover's listed as 6 foot. There did, to me, look, maybe it's just to my eye, but it looked as though the size difference in terms of height was bigger than 3 inches. The body mass difference looked quite drastic as well. Billam Smith looked a hell of a lot bigger, just in there as more, an imposing figure than Glover. Glover tried, he landed some good jabs, he landed some good shots on the inside, but Glover's biggest problem was 2 problems. One, he wasn't accurate enough with his shots, and 2, he has a very, very poor defense. He was getting hit a lot in this fight. From early on, I think the first 30 seconds he had his eye cut. So potentially there was some residual scar tissue there. But it didn't really get any easier. The best round he had in this fight was the second round. And try as hard as he did, and you can't discredit the guy for trying. He definitely gave it his all. But he was just outmatched. He was just a smaller guy. He had a very poor defense. He did have a little bit of success, landing a couple of shots here and there and a few jabs. But for the most part, Billam Smith, you felt, was in control. To be fair, Andy Lee picked this up on commentary, and I noticed it myself. Even in the rounds that Billam Smith was winning, it did appear that the actual heavier shots, the harder shots that were getting landed, were landed by Glover. Now, you could definitely argue that was the case, but, after about 4 rounds, well, actually after the 3rd round, it was just Billam Smith all the way. He put Glover down, I think, literally in the last 10 seconds of the 4th round. So he beat the count, and then obviously they got the minute rest. But to me, the writing was on the wall, because it was almost as if he was held back to his corner after the 4th round. And to me, writing was on the wall where this fight was going to go. And Billam Smith obviously came out in the 5th. Put Glover down again. I actually thought the referee stopped it after the first knockdown in the 5th round. I thought the referee stopped it, but no, we gave Glover the count, let him fight on. Which is fair enough. He wasn't, out on his feet, per se. He wasn't 1 or 2 shots off getting knocked out cold. So he got back up, tried again, but he was ultimately put down again, and the referee chose to wave the fight off. I think that was the correct decision. I think Glover was never really going to win this fight. As I said, he definitely tried, and he did have some success in this fight. Don't get me wrong. There was moments in the fight where he was having success, but to me, he was just outmatched. He was in there against a superior fighter, a superior athlete, and Glover, I wonder, is he one of those guys who's caught in between light, heavy and cruiser? Now, I could be wrong. He could be, a decent sized cruiser, but for my money, he looked quite significantly the smaller man in there. And I think another tactic he used was he was trying to, fight this fight on the inside and use his kind of own physicality. I didn't see that. That to me, that didn't work. It almost it tired Billam Smith out, but it looked like it was tiring Glover out at the same time. So to me, Glover looks like one of those guys who's potentially maybe caught in between light, heavy and cruiser. It's not the end of the world, He's definitely game. He's definitely got some heart there, but very leaky defense. That's one thing I picked up straight away in the 1st round. Was like, this guy is easy to hit. Very leaky defense. So for that reason, you kind of ask the question, how long will he have in sport of boxing if he's getting hit like that consistently? And this was a tough fight for both guys. But Billam Smith moves on. Again, as I said, the sole loss is to Riakporhe. People have been saying they wouldn't mind seeing a rematch of that fight. I didn't see it personally. I know I've heard it was a competitive fight, but I didn't see it. So yeah, I'd be interested to see. I wouldn't mind seeing him against Riakporhe because, as I said, it was a competitive fight. A lot of people told me it was a good fight. So maybe him Riakporhe next, but we'll see. He's got the British title. He's got the Commonwealth title, I should say now. So I think Riakporhe's going for the British. There's Sam Hyde knocking around. That'd be probably, in my opinion, that'd be a logical next step. Sam Hyde fight. So be interested. But yeah, decent fight. Enjoyed it. It was compelling viewing. Callum Smith up next, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I expect Smith to do a job on Ryder, but we'll be interested to see how Ryder compares, how competitive he is. So that's my thoughts on this. Let me know what you think down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you did. Subscribe for new. And of course, as always, I will talk to you after.